Hello and welcome to You Should Have Played It with my special guest star Hippo.
Hello.
This You Should Have Played It is in response to the XCOM You Should Have Played It, where I said quite clearly that you shouldn't play it because it's old and it's buggy and it's RNG and it's horrendous to get it running, and there are lots of things to not like about it. So, if you are going to play a really difficult turn-based game, which one are you going to play? And the answer to that question is Jagged Alliance 2. So, the first thing is we're running the Stracciatella patch here, and what this does is it just adds higher resolutions and Windows 10 support to the game. If you have Windows 7, it should run perfectly without this patch. But I'm just putting it out there because a lot of people are using Windows 10 right now. And the game looks pretty decent. I mean, it's 1999, but it's beautifully rendered in 2D. So anyway, we're going to start a new game here. I brought Hippo along for the sole purpose of answering the questionnaire, which is pretty funny. So we're going to have difficulty level expert, tons of guns. Tons of guns doesn't really change the difficulty. It just means that there's more variance to the weapons. Because both you and the enemy are restricted on what weapons there are if you choose normal. So innately they won't get things that they would have had if you chose tons of guns. So that's why the difficulty doesn't really change. The other thing I would note is, it's kind of funny, novice difficulty can be harder in some ways. I think experienced is actually the easiest difficulty. And the reason why is that a lot of your weapons will come off of the enemies that you kill. And in novice, all of their weapons are garbage, which means that you pick up garbage. So then you're fighting with garbage weapons. And having a good weapon benefits you more than it benefits the enemy. So in a perverse way, novice mode can actually be very difficult. I think on novice mode you're meant to use the gun website to buy weapons, and that's how you get a big advantage. But until you reach that point, the game's actually quite difficult. Okay, you are in expert mode. Warning, warning, warning. There's a short little intro video which we're going to skip because it's not that interesting nor that good. But the story is that basically you have been hired by the previous ruler of a small country, and you are being hired to get rid of the despot that currently runs it, which happens to be the guy's ex-wife. So anyway, you start here on a laptop screen and you go to email, and this is what email looked like in 1999, kids. And you open this email and it tells you that you can have your profile done. So we're going to have our profile done. And what this profiling does is it basically allows you to make your own custom mercenary based on a series of questions, which I am going to make Hippo answer because it's funny. I've answered this.
Sounds like a very advanced social engineering project.
Yeah, well, it's kind of sad, but the community version of Jagged Alliance, which is called version 1.13, which I don't recommend you play it unless you play the original game first and finish the original game, because it's very complicated and it adds loads of stuff, etc. It's good for an enthusiast that's already finished the original game. Gets rid of the questionnaire. They get rid of it. It just lets you pick whatever you want for your customized character, and you don't have to answer the questionnaire, which you may like after answering the questionnaire like 30 times like I have, but it feels like a shame to get rid of that part of the game where the game's got some personality. So here we go. We, unlike other quizzes that try to get you excited about ink stains on paper, our thorough assessment is designed to elicit the answers that indicate the skills you identify with the most strongly. And while we know it's a hazy concept, try to be honest. Choose answers that most closely mirror your actual thoughts, traits, or desires. Trust us, we've had worse than you. They've had worse than you, Hippo.
Oh, that's saying something.
Alright, question 1. When you were a kid, you most wanted to be 1. Bruce Lee, 2. Clint Eastwood, 3. Rocky, 4. Houdini, 5. Terry Bradshaw, or 6. The President?
I think I'd go with Clint Eastwood.
Clint Eastwood. That's funny. Commander also went for Clint Eastwood.
There you go.
You are waiting in line at a circus watching a punk teenager attempt to throw darts at balloons in order to win a prize. He misses the first 3 shots and pays for more, apparently after a luxurious prize, a gold nose ring for his girlfriend. After watching him for 20 minutes, you grow frustrated. You have quite a bit of skill in this game, so you 1. Decide to offer him a bit of on-the-spot coaching and show him how to throw a dart properly. 2. Skillfully toss darts over his shoulder so that no one notices, and he wins the prize. 3. Grab him by his chain-wearing neck and stick his concrete, hard, pointy purple hair spikes through his gigantic balloons that he otherwise cannot seem to hit. Or 4. Kindly ask the game's other attendant if he could possibly spare a moment from his 12-pack so that you, too, could play.
I'm actually kind of interested. There isn't an option to walk away, but I would go with that last one.
That last one, okay. You have just watched someone put $1 million into a locker at a bus station. Amazed that he just walks away, albeit with the key, you find yourself in a moral dilemma. Thankfully, it does not last long. You, 1. Wait for the coast to clear and pick the lock and take the money. 2. Clear the coast yourself. Who cares? You've got $1 million. Blow open the lock with your gun, walk coolly out of the building and grab the first blonde you happen to pass by. 3. Follow him. Under the cover of darkness, you ambush him and grab the key, along with any other goodies he might be carrying, like keys to other lockers. Or 4. Call the police, sure that something illegal is taking place, and hope for a small reward.
Huh. Well, I'm not into blondes. Let's go with the first one.
That's the Duke Nukem approved answer, that one. Suppose you owned a pickup truck and lived in Tennessee. What is the most likely item to be displayed in the rear window? 1. Your rack of semi-automatic hunting rifles for those really aggressive deer. 2. A peace sign. 3. The rebel flag. 4. A silhouette of a naked woman to complement those on your mud flaps. Or 5. A comical character with 2 big old guns and the words "back off" in blood red letters.
As an American, I gotta go with number 1.
It's so true. They're very aggressive. A certain annoying, pathetic, furry, purple dinosaur should be 1. Held up as a loving role model for children's morals and values. 2. Hung from a tree. 3. Hung from a tree and shot. 4. Hung from a tree, shot, gutted, and then run over by a Buick. He loves you. Love it.
You know, I absolutely loved Barney the dinosaur back when I was a child. So unfortunately, I gotta go with the first one.
Oh my god, that explains so much. You are alone and asleep in your bed at night when you hear a sound downstairs. You are certain that someone is breaking into your house. In the lingering seconds between awakening and your impending heart attack, you reach for the phone and call 911. What do you do next? 1. Scream at the top of your lungs until your vocal cords feel like gravel. 2. Grab a knife and head downstairs after the intruder. 3. Stay on the phone and hide under the bed. 4. Realizing that you're trapped, you bolt out of the nearest exit, even if that means jumping out of the second-story window. 5. Grab your gun, begin blowing holes through the floor in your bedroom and yell, "Yeah, coming up and get some of this, tough guy."
Oh, it's probably those aggressive deer, so let's go with number 5.
In the middle of a normal day in a large American city, you notice an army surplus store being looted. Thinking, with a decided lack of morals, that this must be your lucky day, you rush inside. There are, however, only 4 things left in the store. You grab one and rush out. What do you grab? 1. The brand new computer, minus, of course, the necessary manuals. 2. A complete set of survival knives with the special slicer and dicer attachment kit. 3. Night vision goggles bundled with an illustrated guide. Daytime, the unnecessary hazard. Or 4. Bob, the night clerk, who is wrapped in duct tape but otherwise okay.
Good old Bob. He got me those guns. So.
Everyone picks that. Everybody.
Good old Bob.
You are applying for a job as a butcher. In an effort to give yourself the edge over the other applicants, you 1. Demonstrate that you can skillfully wield 2 blades at the same time. 2. Take a few liberties with your background, such as that high-profile and fictional position you held as a foreman at Bob's Slaughterhouse. 3. Turn up well-dressed and confident that you are the perfect candidate. Or 4. Begin practicing prime cuts on neighborhood pets.
Oh, man. I gotta go with Bob on this one. Bob's my homeboy.
Which one is that? The prime cuts one?
No, the one that's...
the fictional background. Yeah, okay. Bob's Slaughterhouse, yeah, sorry.
Yep.
Your wife is 3 hours late coming home and hasn't called you. 1. Didn't really notice. 2. Tell Candy there's no rush to leave. 3. Assume that she is with someone else, no doubt a strapping 18-year-old buck. Or 4. Pace back and forth in the living room until you wear a path in the carpet.
Oh. Can I like choose both 2 and 3? Candy's a good prostitute name. Let's go with Candy.
Okay, cool. Question 10. You live next door to a college frat house. Following weekend after weekend of loud and crazy parties, you 1. Decide that yes, you really are too old for this. 2. Begin to doubt that your wife is having a Rubbermaid party for the boys. 3. Bribe your plumber to hook their septic tank directly into the CO2 system after installing several strategically placed Guinness signs. Or 4. Do nothing, fearing that calling the police would only lead them to do God knows what to your property.
Well... There's my number 3 for the last question, so let's go with number 2 for this question.
Question 11. Driving to work in your new sports car, you pull up behind a young man in a minivan going approximately negative 5 miles an hour. You are unable to pass him, and in your frustration, you begin to fantasize that 1. You press R for rocket launcher. 2. That you could hold a class wherein you would teach people the proper driving techniques. 3. That a ramming device springs out from the front of your car and baps his car faster. 4. That every curse you're uttering could be broadcast loudly and in stereo inside his vehicle. Or 5. That the psychic ray of death spins them off the road where they would be slapped by Mario Antoretti, who says, "Give me your license." And I still, after 20 years, have no idea who Mario Antoretti is. Google wasn't a thing back then.
I'm pretty sure it was a Formula 1. No, this is an American game. Might be stock car. I don't know. Well, he's probably working for the deer, so go with number 1.
R for rocket launcher. Typically, you do not endorse violence. However, you would easily pay $1,000 to see the following fight. 1. Jackie Chan versus Jean-Claude Van Damme. 2. Crocodile Dundee versus Tarzan. 3. Barbie versus Godzilla. 4. The NRA versus Congress. 5. Mike Tyson versus the Incredible Hulk. 6. Bill Gates versus Robocop. 7. Your mate versus the defensive line of the Washington Redskins. Or 8. No, I really do endorse violence.
I gotta go with the NRA one. Congress is full of deers.
During the summer, you generally think 1. And that's more than you can say for yourself in other seasons. 2. That your children will any day now drive you completely insane, and you're close to that already. 3. That this fashion trend towards less is more is a very good thing. Or 4. It's too damn hot.
4.
It's too damn hot. It is too damn hot. There is very little you would not do willingly, except 1. Sit in a window seat of a small airplane as you circle in holding pattern for 2 hours, even if the captain assures you that the plane has plenty of fuel and the weather is good. 2. Ever admit that just once, you were turned on by a comic book character. 3. Spend a week walking through the desert even if you knew that the woman of your dreams would be on the other side. And 4. Software development, which sounds like a cry for help from the software developers, to be honest with you.
Oh, jeez. Go with the week in the desert.
Commando also went for the week in the desert.
Yes, I did.
I would have picked software development personally. Question 15. If you were a Major League Baseball player, you would be best known for your 1. Accurate pitching, 2. Switch hitting, 3. Enormous bat, or 4. Outlandish requests for a bigger salary. I mean, who can really scrape by on $1 million a year these days?
I always make jokes that I'm the pitcher, so go with 1.
Accurate pitching. Last question. You are on a commercial jetliner which crashes into a remote mountain range. Half the passengers survived the impact. Fortunately, you are one of them. Being the leader that you are, you 1. Gather the survivors and announce that you will lead a team down the mountainside to seek help. 2. Concerned with starvation, declare yourself chef and send a team to see if the heavy-set woman you spotted earlier in first class survived. 3. Gather the survivors around the wreckage and light whatever remains of the fuel tanks. As the fire grows in intensity, you yell repeatedly. Why prolong it? 4. Hunt down the bar cart, finding it intact. You organize one last drunken blowout before everyone freezes to death.
Go with the fire one.
Have you answered all of these questions to the best of your ability and as honestly as you could?
If I say no, will it make you go through it again?
No.
Go with yes.
You're very sure of yourself.
Yes.
Okay, so now on your personal character, you choose the attributes. So if you have a score that's lower than 35, you can't do whatever that is. So on your personal character, you should never take a score lower than 35. The stats basically do pretty obvious things, but wisdom increases the chance of you getting additional stats while you play. So I always take the maximum 85 in wisdom. And then you want some level of marksmanship, and I would generally max out dexterity because it's quite difficult to raise. Agility, again, is a difficult stat to raise, and it affects how many action points you get. Strength is something that rises quite easily, and you don't really need to carry a huge amount of equipment at the start, I find. So this is the basic setup that I would go for if you're going to play Jagged Alliance 2 for the first time, which is 75 health, 80 in dexterity, agility, and wisdom, which lets you go fast, hit accurately, and your stat increases will come much quicker with 85 wisdom, which allows you to build up the other things you need towards the end of the game. And a 75 in marksmanship. Marksmanship it rises very quickly, but you don't want it too low because it just makes the beginning of the game a nightmare. Then we're going to click finished. Boom. Yes, I am certain. We're going to pick a portrait. And we're going to pick a voice, and all the voices are crap apart from number 3, so we're just going to choose number 3. Done! Right, so the next part of the game is, now that you've made your own character, which you can review here, who apparently is an automatic weapons expert, so that's what you got in the end. That's probably one of the better things to be. You can hire some mercenaries to go with the character that you've made. So we go to the Association of International Mercenaries and we hire some mercenaries. You want to hire your mercenaries for at least 1 week to begin with. A day is not long enough and 2 weeks is too expensive. So I generally hire Nails because he is a great lockpick. He's all-round good, and his main weakness is that he will never take off his leather biker jacket, which in the beginning is alright, but later on as you get proper nice armor, he will refuse to wear it, so his usefulness sort of wanes over the course of the game. You can get rid of him later. And then I would also go for Hitman, who his health is not so great because he's getting old, but he's cheap and he has great marksmanship, so we're going to grab him as well. And we are going to grab Igor, who is really good, and his main issue is that he doesn't speak great English. And I could not care less about that. So I'm just going to hire him. And this leaves you with about $2,000, which is not a huge amount of money, but there we go. So we're going to shut down the laptop. So you can see here, is my own character plus the 3 mercenaries that I've just hired. And as soon as you press the start time button, the game will begin. Now, there's a funny thing about this is on my second playthrough I crashed the game here. This game's actually really stable, but there is a crash where if you mash a load of buttons trying to skip this helicopter sequence, the game can crash. So I recommend that you don't press any buttons while the game is loading and doing this little bit of the story here. There we go. We have to wait for everybody to get off. Sadly, Hippo cannot see what I'm doing right now, so there isn't much he can participate in this, apart from listening to me.
I blame the deer.
I do. They're very aggressive. So the first sector that you're dropped in has got a certain amount of enemies in it. So the first thing that I do, generally speaking, is I put everybody in stealth mode. It doubles the cost of movement, but it basically dramatically reduces the amount of noise you make. Oh, spotted one already. So the thing is, I'm going to have to turn stealth mode off for everybody. Early on, your weapons do not have very good range. So you'll struggle to fight at even moderate range. So if I click on Hitman here and shoot at this guy, the wobbling noise here says out of effective weapon range means that I just don't have a good shot because my weapon's not good enough. So what we want to do is try and get into a situation where you are close to the enemy. We don't want to stay out in the open because we're going to get shot. So there is a button to run, and I've completely forgotten what it is. It's not in the character menu. So in the if you right click on a character, you can see their inventory and their stats, and there's some buttons here. This one lets you change where you're looking and so on and so forth, and there's a stance button, but it doesn't let you put run mode on, unfortunately. Nails just got shot. I probably should have moved more directly towards the building, but that's okay. Okay, so Nails has got a clean shot at least. Oh, ow! So the most hit points you can have is 100, and that guy just took 78, so that would have killed just basically anybody. Now Nails has been shot, and if I don't do something about it, he's gonna bleed. And that is bad, just like in real life. So what I've got to do is, I've got my med kit ready. I'm just gonna skip a turn. I'm gonna bring him into cover, and then we're gonna first aid. Because we don't want him to bleed to death, basically. Now, how this game works is, if you face your characters in certain directions, and an enemy appears from that direction, then they, depending on their wisdom and their level, etc., they have a chance of interrupting the enemy in the middle of their turn. So you can use this to great effect to set ambushes. So we're going to skip another turn. Now you see, Igor did not interrupt this guy. That shot did not do any damage, so it either hit armor or it clipped him, which is good. Now we're going to shoot back. And the game's very lethal, as you can see. One shot almost kills somebody. Okay, so that guy is dealt with. So Igor's level is only 2 because he's not very experienced. Stats can be a bit deceiving. Hitman's level 4, which means that he's much more likely to be successful, even though his stats are quite bad. His dexterity is only 40. We're going to hold position here and see if any more opponents come. So you can change stances. If you kneel, you have a bit better accuracy, but you don't lose so much movement. Here we go. So this guy's come around the corner and he's walked straight into Igor, and I'm going to get to go first because I see him first. So we're going to shoot him in the head. Excellent. What you can do is, if you have a guy come at you at that kind of distance, and you have someone who's really strong, I should have done this in the first place, Igor's got 82 strength, you can actually try and steal the weapon from out of their hands. You hold down the control key and you get this grab hand, and you click on the enemy and you can actually try and grab their weapon off them. It can be a really great way to get weapons early on, because there's no guarantee that they'll drop whatever weapon they've got. But if you successfully grab it off them, you will definitely get it. Wrecked. Hot dog! I love the personalities in this game. Ow! Okay, so Igor just took quite a severe hit there. So I'm going to stand him up, and we're going to go around the corner. He's obviously got no no action points because he's just attacked me. Shot him in the head. And the same thing with Hitman. Go behind Igor and try and get a shot into this guy. Oh, nasty! Yeah, that was a critical hit. So that guy died pretty solidly. Once again, I'm going to pull out the med kit. Can't allow people to bleed. So you see on the hit point bar here, part of the hit points is pink, and that means that the injury has been treated, but it won't actually heal until they get proper bed rest or doctor attention. So attrition in this game is a very real thing. Characters can take injuries and be very easy to kill. So when there's only a couple of enemies left and a number of enemies have been killed, what can happen is enemies can retreat from the map, and they might just either retreat and just run off into nearby tiles, or they might actually go off and find another squad and link up with them and then come back. So it's just something to think about. The game goes into a real-time mode when you're not in combat, which just allows you to easily move your characters around. So you're not having to be in turn-based mode all the time, which is really irritating, and one of the things about XCOM that I hate. So what you would normally do is you'd obviously carefully search all the buildings for the remaining enemies, but we're not going to do that. We're just gonna run around. You can run by double-clicking, but it doesn't work in turn-based mode. There is a way to do it in turn-based mode though, but I'll have to look it up. Oh, shit! Ow! Ambush. So that guy just legged it round the corner after shooting me, but he is not going to. See, I'm in run mode here because I was already running, which is nice. There he is. Get him. Okay, he's wounded. That's not dead. I prefer dead to wounded. Try and get Nails into a position where he can assist, but he does not have enough action points to fire. Irritatingly. 9. That's not bad. Definitely get a shot there. Good. So the enemy's critical now, so he might actually pass out on his turn. But I would still prefer it if I actually killed him. What you can do is, so my main character is an auto weapons expert, so I can put the weapon on burst mode and it will actually be more accurate for a character that has burst. Oh, ow! Accidentally friendly fired my my own guy there. Not the best. And that's it. Oh, we cleaned up there. And you see I gained 1 point of medical skill because I healed quite a few people during the course of this mission. Now, unfortunately, Nails is going to require a huge amount of time out to heal his injuries, which is also quite unfortunate. And Hitman is bleeding, and I am out of medical supplies, which is not the best. I think there are some more around, but we're not going to carry on with this game anyway. So this is Jagged Alliance 2, and it's one of the best sort of designed turn-based strategy games ever made. And you see, Nails will not. He will not let you take his leather jacket off, which will cost you later. Right, that's it. So this was Jagged Alliance 2. You should have played it. Hope you enjoyed this video, even though half of it was Hippo doing a survey. And I will catch you next time. You can say goodbye now if you like.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.